Jesus is a relationship, not a religion. You know that feeling when you've checked all the boxes and somehow still feel empty? You showed up, you said the right things, you stayed out of the wrong things, you did the reading plan, well, most of it. And yet, somewhere underneath all of it, there's this quiet question you're afraid to say out loud. Is this all there is? If that's you right now, I need you to stay with me. Because what we're about to walk through changed everything for me, and it might just change everything for you, too. Now, let's start with a word that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. Religion. Say that word, and most of us picture the same thing. Rules, rituals, a checklist you carry around in your back pocket, pulling it out every time you're not sure if you're doing enough. Show up on Sunday. Don't say certain words. Vote a certain way. And whatever you do, don't ask too many questions. And here's the thing. Religion, in that sense, is exhausting. Because religion is always about what you do, how well you perform, how clean your track record looks this week. But here's where the story gets interesting. When Jesus shows up in the Gospels, the people he's hardest on aren't the outsiders. They're not the tax collectors, not the woman at the well, not the guy possessed by a legion of demons. The people Jesus saves his sharpest words for are the religious professionals. The Pharisees. The guys who had the checklist memorized. Matthew 23. Jesus calls them whitewashed tombs. Beautiful on the outside, dead on the inside. Now, that's not gentle Jesus, meek and mild. That's someone who is furious about something. And if you track his ministry, you start to see why. Let's keep going, because this part matters. Every time Jesus interacts with a religious person, the conversation gets tense. But every time he interacts with someone who's just broken, the tone shifts completely. Take the woman caught in adultery in John 8. The religious leaders drag her out in public, which, quick side note, is a fascinating detail. They caught her in the act. So where's the guy? They brought her, but not him. And I'm paraphrasing, but the whole scene has this setup vibe to it. Like they cared more about trapping Jesus than about the sin they were so worked up about. And Jesus? He doesn't give her a lecture. He doesn't hand her a reading plan. He doesn't say, go get your life together and then come back. He stoops down, draws in the dirt. And when everyone's gone, he looks at her and says, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Did you catch the order? It's not, stop sinning and then I won't condemn you. It's, I don't condemn you. Now go live differently. That's not religion. That's relationship. Now, let's just think about the logistics for a second. Because this distinction, religion versus relationship, it's not just semantics. It changes everything about how you wake up tomorrow morning. Religion says, I obey, therefore I'm accepted. Relationship says, I'm accepted, therefore I obey. Religion says, God is disappointed in you until you get it right. Relationship says, God is with you while you're still getting it wrong. Religion says, your performance determines your proximity to God. Relationship says, Jesus already closed that gap. You can't perform your way closer to someone who already moved in. And that last one? That's the one that trips most of us up. Paul says it in Romans 8. There is therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Now, Paul wrote a lot of complicated sentences. That is not one of them. There is no condemnation. Not a little. Not less than before. None. If you're walking around feeling like God is perpetually disappointed in you, that's not the voice of God. That's religion talking. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. In John 15, Jesus uses a word that the religious leaders of his day would have found borderline offensive. He says, I no longer call you servants because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. Friends. A servant relates to the master through duty. A friend relates through intimacy. A servant worries about getting fired. A friend knows they belong. And Jesus looks at his disciples, guys who had just been arguing about which one of them was the greatest, by the way, which is so painfully human, and says, "You're not my employees. You're my friends." That's not a religious system. That's an invitation. Let me bring this home. If you grew up in church, or even if you didn't, but you've absorbed the cultural version of Christianity, you probably picked up a version of faith that feels a lot like a treadmill. Keep running. Don't stop. Don't mess up. If you slow down, everything falls apart. But here's what I want you to hear tonight. The gospel isn't an invitation to a religion. It's an invitation to a person. Jesus didn't die to start a new system of rules. He died to remove everything standing between you and God so that relationship could actually happen. Religion tends to leave you wondering if you've done enough. A relationship with Jesus starts from the truth that he already did enough. 2,000 years ago, on a cross, with your name on his mind. So here's the question I want to leave you with. And I mean this. Sit with it. Are you exhausted because you're trying to earn something that was already given to you? Because if the answer is yes, that's not a reason to feel guilty. It's an invitation to rest. If this hit something in you today, do me a favor and hit that like button. It actually helps more people find this video when they need it most. And if you're not subscribed, I make videos for people who are walking through real things and looking for what God actually said. Not what religion added, what he actually said. Tell me in the comments, when did you first realize that faith was supposed to be a relationship, not a checklist? I read every one of those. I'll see you in the next one.